Hello and welcome to episode 16 of CP 2049 Solid State Society. Tonight with us we have Doc playing Detective Purcell, and Bo returns again to the game. This time, though, he'll be playing a different character, and all will be revealed as we get into the game. A quick recap before we proceed. In the last session, an interesting person entered our game, entered Icarus 1, goes by the name Detective Purcell. Detective Purcell has been sent to Icarus 1 to find out what really happened at the docks that night. A warehouse was blown up. There was merchandise in that warehouse that belonged to a very, very powerful corporation. Someone that you do not want to mess with, and Detective Purcell is here to find out who did and met out any repercussions for those actions. He proceeds to his apartment, sets his base of operation, makes his way into the Haven district, into the seedier side of Haven district, and there he meets Jimmy the Shark, the first contact that the Corp had sent him to talk to. Through Jimmy the Shark, he finds out that there were some deals going down on the docks that night. The Daybreak Syndicate was somehow involved, but he doesn't know who they are, what they do. Detective Purcell then proceeds to make contact with the Icarus PD. He makes short work of the lieutenant running the police department, quickly establishes his dominance and the people that Detective Purcell works for. He finds out that there is someone that the police are holding in the interrogation room, someone who had observed the activities at the docks that night. Detective Purcell proceeds to interrogate this person, a street urchin, someone who had tweaked out of their mind, now going through withdrawal symptoms. That person says they saw a large gunfight. Helicopters came in from the air and blew the warehouse up. He did see 4 people leaving the vicinity. One of them was a woman wearing a mask. The other was a tall, powerfully built individual with an assault rifle. He said that they were the ones who left unscathed. Everybody else was killed. The ones who were killed, he saw a particular symbol on their uniforms, symbol that's drawn at the bottom right of your screen. Detective Purcell made notes of this and proceeds to go into the Little Wing district, trying to see if anyone's heard of the deals that went down that night, anyone's heard of the Daybreak Syndicate. There he has a chance encounter with a young individual, someone who seems to be off the street, struggling, but recently came into some good fortune. She identifies that insignia because she's wearing it on her jacket as well. She says she's part of the Daybreak Syndicate. She was recently recruited, and she believes that ascendancy into the cyberspace will soon be upon her, and she will see that which runs in the shadows of cyberspace, that which the Daybreak Syndicate prey to in some ways. She says her contact within Little Wing, the one who turned her onto the Daybreak Syndicate, goes by the name Elias Green. Armed with that information, Detective Purcell calls it a night. On his way back home, he runs some queries on the Icarus PD data server, getting the whereabouts of Elias Green. While those queries are running, he makes his way back to his apartment, where he is partly surprised but partly expecting a young sergeant, desk sergeant, that he had made contact with at the PD. It is now the next night. Detective Purcell is in his apartment. Sylvia, the contact he made at the police department, the desk sergeant, left in the morning. She said she would keep her ear out to see if she heard anything about the investigation. Purcell is in his living room in the hotel looking through his notes, and that's where the scene opens up.
So Purcell licks his thumb and forefinger, and he's looking through some papers, kind of shuffling through them. He's moving one stack on one side of the table, paper by paper, to another side of the table. As he moves the papers, and his eyes are scanning all the lines on them. It's old and archaic, but it still is the right way for him, personally, to do this job. Something about having something substantial in his hands, something to flip through, something to look at, something to crumple up and throw into the corner of the room. It just makes him feel like he's doing his job. And that's not to say that he doesn't also use all of the technology and advances available to him, because obviously he does that too. And as he's looking at his papers, scanning line by line, if he sees something that catches his eye, he takes a digital image of it and throws it up onto the screen. And he throws it up onto the screen, enhances it up there, takes a closer look. And he paces back and forth in his room, back and forth, looking at everything he's collected up on the screen after going through stacks of paper. It's this combination of archaic footwork, digging through papers the way the old detectives used to do it, mixed with his current day available technologies, throwing it up on the screen, being able to pull it up whenever he needs it, not having to remember everything and forgetting nothing. This is where he belongs. This is what he does, and he does it well. He looks at the screen, and he just nods to himself. He walks over to a table, grabs a bottle of brown liquid and pours it into a glass, throws it back quickly, gulps it down, gently sets the glass down on the table, and with two fingers just kind of pushes it aside and goes back to work. There was a name he was given, Elias. He needed to find out more. He needed to find out more about who that was, where they are, and what their connection to all of this is. Elias. It's a lead. It's something to go on. It's a string that needs to be tugged on, followed up on. Elias. Detective Purcell goes about his business, doing what he does best, and he starts searching for the last known whereabouts of Elias.
As Detective Purcell is skimming through his notes, reading up on local news, searching blogs, news articles, known aliases related to the name of Elias Green, the queries he had kicked off on the Icarus PD servers returns, and he gets a message. Elias Green, last known location Little Wing, has a shop full of odds and ends. Known data dealer, low-level criminal, address, and there's a lat-long coordinate that's attached to the file. You see, when you zoom the map, pan it around and take a look of the 3D image of Icarus 1, it is not very far from where you were last, where you had met that girl. However, you realize that that area of Icarus 1 is a little seedier, little sketchier. You overlay crime stats in that area and you see that if Little Wing is a graph, a bar graph, that little section of Little Wing is a skyscraper.
Detective Purcell, looking at this information, looking at the 3D overlay of the city of Icarus 1, and then the 3D overlay of crime stats, and sees that red spike jutting out from the 3D map. And he just kind of lets his breath out a little bit. It would have to be a shithole, wouldn't it? Goddamn. Well, this is what we get paid to do, just talking to himself. And he walks over to a closet and he grabs a hat out of there that's been sitting on a top shelf, pulls a coat off of a hanger, flings it around and puts it on his arms, pulls it up over his shoulders, takes the top of his hat with 3 fingers by the top corner of the hat and kind of puts it on his head, pulls it forward, just tipped down slightly, puts on a pair of nicely polished shoes and ties them. He walks over to a table and he grabs a pistol, pulls back the chamber, looks inside of it, then he lets it go with a snap as he puts it into a holster inside of his coat. He kind of cranes his neck as if he's stretching it and cracking it at the same time, making a circle as he stretches his neck out. Lets out a breath. Alright, well, Mr. Elias, it's time to meet face to face. He walks out the front door. He scans the lock, giving it his signature so that no one else can enter, and heads to his car.
Detective Purcell leaves his hotel room, gets into the car, and punches in the coordinates towards Little Wing again. While he does, you see messages come in, status updates of the various investigations running through Icarus 1 at your behest. You get an update saying that residue from the warehouse, the exploded warehouse, has been collected and is undergoing analysis as we speak. There are some trackers and tags added to that, specifically chemical analysis that you requested that Icarus PD run on it. It pleases you that they are following your orders to the T.
So Purcell, he's reading these messages and he smiles, seeing that the work is finally being done. Damn thing should have been done as soon as it happened. Anyways, he just mumbles to himself. We've got another job to do. Let's get it done. And he activates the vehicle to take control and sets the coordinates in, confirms the coordinates that were already punched in, to head to the location. And he sits there and just looks out the window. Neon lights glaring off the glass. Water kind of spraying, rain spraying over the front as he heads to his next location.
Detective Purcell makes his way through Icarus 1. The ride is not too long, about 20 minutes or so. Eventually he gets to Little Wing. He parks his car. He's back in the area where he had met that young girl. You pull out your compad and you bring up the last known location of Elias Green. You set up navigation to that. Your compad says you would need to walk there. You need to take a couple of alleys. If you go this way, followed by that, it's about a 15-minute walk, and you would eventually get to Elias Green's shop of odds and ends.
So Purcell, after following the different waypoints on his navigation system, looking around, taking in the sights and sounds as he follows the waypoints, the different smells, incense burning from one stall here, cigarette smoke coming from a group of kids over there. He's walking through and he sees someone ride by on a bicycle. There's lights everywhere. And he finally makes his way there and he heads off in that direction.
As you start walking deeper into Little Wing, you can see that the surrounding changes, the ambience changes, the people change slowly, slightly. But as you walk in deeper, you can see the seedy underbelly of Little Wing, and you realize that it is pretty much the same as in everywhere in Icarus. Every region, every sector has the nicer areas, but as soon as you go past it, as soon as you dig deeper, you pull the curtain aside, you see the rot, the stench, you see the humanity, and you see the struggle. As you're walking through this area, this rundown section, Doc, give me a notice plus wisdom skill.
Notice plus wisdom.
Nice. You keep an eye on the surroundings, constantly checking. You see there are many eyes tracking your movement. You clearly stand out in this place. Your well-cut suit, well-dressed attire, the gait of your walk. You seem not from this place. You seem wealthy. But for now, the eyes are just observing you, watching you move through this region. They take no action. But you sense that sixth sense that all is not what it seems. Everyone here is looking for a weakness. Everyone here is looking for a payday. And they will get it, even if it means getting down and dirty.
Detective Purcell has walked through many slums and many of a sordid area. He understands the street level politics that take place in an area like this. He knows he stands out. He knows he's being watched. His suit pressed, his shoes shined, his hat sharp. He looks around. There's nothing like this around here. And he knows that it draws attention. So he stands up straighter, his chest out just a little more, sure of himself and confident. He knows he's being watched, but he's also ready. He's ready for anything. And he continues to walk towards his destination.
As Detective Purcell is making his way to Elias, the eye over Icarus One realizes that a new entity is entering its purview. A new entity is entering the story that we are trying to portray. It switches, it pans, it zooms, and finds the target. And the camera starts focusing on Elias Green. Elias Green is in his workshop, surrounded by the tools of his trade. Go ahead, Bo.
Elias Green is in his workshop with some goggles on. A cigarette hangs out the left side of his mouth. It's burnt halfway down with the ash piled up on a plate beside him. Elias gives no thought to it, brushes it aside with his left. He looks to his right, and his right hand searches around for a plate of fries there. Munches on them. Looks back down to his work. Motherfucker needs to pay me more money, he says. Gets back on his computer. Elias Green is a man of, you wouldn't say means, but he's a man of deals, of back alley meetings and dealings that, well, we wouldn't call them quite reputable. He has reputable friends, sure, but old Elias, he's slippery. He's like grease. He's like, you can never quite pin him down, but he always seems to get away scot-free. And he finds himself in his workshop now, working on another deal.
Elias is working on his deals, his projects. A well-dressed man enters the shop.
Hello, sir. Can I help you?
Purcell walks in, and he just stops right at the entrance of the front door there. And he hears Elias Green say, "Hello, sir. Can I help you?" And without saying anything, he takes his hat off and holds it in his right hand, and then just looks to his left, and in an arc looks up to the ceiling and around all the way to his right, and just kind of look the place up and down, looks in front of him, looks around the room, and then finally looks at the man addressing him. Lastly, looks at him and says, "Well, I sure hope you can help me. That's exactly what I came for, some help."
Well, you didn't exactly make an appointment. And kind of takes a drag off a cigarette and puts his goggles back down over his eyes. "And I'm kind of busy. You want to come back tomorrow? Can't you see I'm hard at work?" You can see the half-eaten plate of fries to his right and several cigarette butts and a sauce to his left. In front of Elias is a computer workstation. It's a laptop. He slams it down as if he doesn't want Purcell to see what he was doing. "So yeah. Once you come back in the morning, the light of day, we can talk then."
And Purcell raises the hand that's holding his hat, extends a finger out, and kind of uses his hat to point at Elias Green and says, "You know what? I've been in a lot of places that required appointments and reservations." And he looks around the room one more time, and he uses his right hand holding the hat to kind of gesture around the room. "This place does not look like one of those places that require appointments and or reservations."
You there. He points his left finger. "You're a motherfucker." "But I like the way you talk, so if you don't got an appointment, then I guess you got credits."
And Purcell smiles. "That I do have. I have credits. But do you have what it takes to earn the credits?"
He looks you up and down. Hey, listen here, sir. Whatever your name is, Mr. 1950s. I got all the time you need. But I don't talk for free. If you know what I mean. So come on in here, have a seat. He kind of kicks out a stool in your direction. Do you smoke?
And as he kicks out the stool in my direction, just before it's about to wobble over, Purcell grabs it, straightens it up, pushes it, walks forward, pushing the stool in his direction. As he walks in, still just kind of screech, the stool just scraping along the floor as he's pushing, as he continues to walk in. And then once he reaches Elias's desk here, he grabs the stool, flings it around as it swivels on one leg, and sits on it, and looks at Elias. I can't say that I do smoke. But if you've got any bourbon, I'll do that.
I've got bourbon. He kind of gets up and walks to his right and opens up a cabinet. In that cabinet, you see several bottles of dark brown liquid, and they're in varying levels. One of them's full, a couple of them are almost empty. He takes a couple of the empty ones down and starts to pour a glass. Motherfucker! Throws the bottle down. You hear it clank onto the ground. Eventually, he does pour a small glass for the detective and brings it to him. And he has one himself, and he holds the glass up to the light. It's a dirty yellow light that fills his workshop, and it casts just an oily hue on the bourbon. He kind of swirls it around the glass and looks at it. Here's to new friends, or new deals. I hope we both live through this thing, huh? Don't need to be melodramatic, but not many people wander in here off the street.
Purcell grabs the glass, kind of gently slides it over the desk there as he's sitting on the stool next to him. And he lifts it up, looks at the glass, holds it up, and also looks at it through the light. And it has just a dingy look, almost as if it's motor oil. Purcell sniffs in the glass, swirls it just a little bit, and then shoots the one finger shot all the way back. Gently slides the glass back down on the table, using two fingers, gently pushes it away from him. Well, how do you stay in business if not too many people come in off the streets, Elias?
Well, it's not quite fair. You know my name, sir, and I don't know yours. But if I may say, like I said, most people have appointments. I have a very discerning clientele, if you know what I mean. Are you discerning, Columbo?
Well, I can say I'm discerning. There are a lot of things that I take seriously. My bourbon is one. Yours is shit. Let's hope your work is better than your bourbon. And Purcell just looks at him and straightens his suit coat out as he says that, and starts rolling up the sleeve on his, well, takes his coat off, folds it up and puts it in his lap, and starts rolling up the sleeve on his right arm. And after the sleeve's rolled up, he starts rolling up the sleeve on his left arm.
So, I called you Columbo before. You familiar with that?
I don't know. It sounds like an older reference. Maybe something I've heard in the past, but I don't know. Enlighten me, Elias.
So I got this old pal. His name's Valentine. I haven't talked to him in a while. Fucking prick stood me up for a deal. But he's a kind soul. An old soul. A little too gentle as far as I'm concerned. And he was real into that shit from the old days. Columbo. He was an old detective. Bumbling. Kinda dumb. But you know what? Wasn't the smartest. Wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. But he always came out on top. Do you know why?
Why is that, Elias?
He always listened to his gut. And to me, I'm thinking use police.
Well, listen here. If you're listening to your gut, wouldn't that make you Columbo? And Purcell just kind of shrugs his shoulders as a... I mean, if you're saying that's who Columbo is and what he did, and that's what you are doing, that makes you Columbo. But in any case, I'm not here to talk about the old days or whatever conversations you had with old friends. I'm here because your name came up. Your name, Elias Green, your name came up in a conversation that I'm interested in.
So, as Elias starts to talk, you probably see his right hand go underneath his desk. And as he's talking to you about Columbo trying to blow smoke up your skirt, you kind of see him fumbling around with something under the desk. And from your experience, you hear the click of a trigger. And you see him start to bring up a firearm from beneath his desk.
And immediately as you click the trigger and grab something from under your desk, Purcell is going to flip the stool around that he's sitting on, grab it in the hand and swing it around to knock you back, kind of like hit you in the side, like your right shoulder there, and kind of crash the stool into you to knock you back.
All right.
You see, you hit. Oh, you just RP it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep, you clack Elias across the shoulder, and he's like, ah! He stumbles backward. Fuck! His glass shatters on the ground, and you see fall from beneath the desk. There's a submachine gun just clattered to the floor. I said use the fuzz. Just gotta defend myself.
Purcell walks forward and he puts his foot on the gun and kind of puts some pressure on it and slides it behind him with his foot. Like, that was stupid, Elias. That was stupid. I mean, yeah, of course. I'm the fuzz. I'm the police. I am whatever you need me to be to justify grabbing a gun from under your desk and shooting a man down. Man,
Who said anything about shooting? Huh? Come on.
you don't grab a gun unless you're going to shoot someone with it.
Well, he kind of has his hand up as he's talking. He looks down, winks at you, and looks at the gun on the ground. As soon as you walked in here, there was a little bit of a power differential. Don't you think? I'm just an honest man trying to make a living. What am I going to do around here? Sell fresh produce? Nah, I don't do that type of thing. So you're coming in here looking for information? I just want to be on the up and up. I just want to be able to protect myself because I don't want to go away for years. You know what I mean? I've done some short stints in the slammer. I'm not going away for long, though. I tell you that. Not without a fight.
And Purcell, he when he jumped up and flipped his stool around, his coat fell on the ground. And he looks at Elias, raises an eyebrow as he kind of does a squat. Not kneeling down, but almost like a squat, just bending at the knees. Grabs his coat, picks it up, keeping his eyes on Elias the entire time. I understand why you would feel that way. You don't want to go to the slammer, of course. You know what? I don't want you to go to the slammer, kid.
I don't want to go to the slammer.
It's the last thing I want to. That's why I need your help. I need you to help me. And then I'll help you by making sure you stay out of the slammer. You get that? Is that fair? Maybe there's a little money in it for you too.
A little money. People like you got money dripping off of you. I need something a little more substantial. So, like I said, I'm not one to make demands, just a little small request. He kind of looks at your shoes, looks at your well-tailored suit, at your trench coat. Then he looks at your hat. I tell you what, my buddy Valentine, I told you about earlier, he'd really like that hat. When he finally makes his way to my office, I'm going to give him that hat. No credits needed. You give me that. We'll sit down, we'll talk, and listen, I'm sorry about the gun. I wasn't going to shoot you. I can't even fire the thing.
Purcell looks at him, and he just kind of smiles. And looks at the gun, or, kind of looks at the gun on the ground. Looks around the shop again. Give me your link. And by that he means his digital connection, his ability to forward money to him. Give me your link.
Elias reluctantly does so.
And as he does so, Purcell has his comm pad up, and he's kind of punching a couple of things in there. And as he's punching it in, he just kind of laughs to himself and says, "You know what? I'm not gonna give you my hat, but since you have such a good friend who would love this hat, I'm gonna give you enough money." And he's continuing to push buttons. "I'm gonna give you enough money to buy him more than a dozen of these hats and a dozen of these suits." And he pushes a button again, and a dozen of these shoes. And he looks around the room, and he's smiling, and he hits the last button, and maybe even upgrade this, what you call an office. And he clicks the button and sends a number over to Elias that is substantially worth more than his hat and his suit and his shoes and this office and the gun and everything around him. And then he looks up at Elias, waiting for him to get that number.
Elias looks down at the link and sees the number, sees the decimal points, kind of frowns and narrows his eyes and looks at the detective. Well, I can't say you drive a hard bargain. You make it quite pretty easy for me. Like I said, I'm not a man of means. But this makes me feel a little bit more like talking. Like I said, let's forget this whole thing happened. You're going to find there's only a couple bullets in that weapon. Just forget about it, pull up a chair, and let's get back to our bourbon, huh?
So the stool that he smacked him in the side with, that's sitting down, that's on its side next to them on the floor. Purcell kind of smacks one of the legs and uses the leverage on it to flip it back up with his foot. He flips it back up with his foot and spins it around on one stool again. Sits down on top of it. Very well. He pulls up his data pad and pulls up an image. What do you know about this? Tell me everything you know about this. And he pulls up the image that the girl had drawn.
Yeah, Elias looks at the image, kind of seems to study it for a little bit. He narrows his eyes, and he looks at you and kind of gives a nonverbal gesture to see if it's okay if he gets up and gets them both another little glass of bourbon. As soon as he gets a nod, he'll go up and
he nods.
no deception sensed. And goes to the cabinet, opens it again, and gets another bottle of bourbon. This one's a little bit more full, and he brings it back to the desk and sits down on the desk. Oh, yeah, you might say I'm familiar with that. You might say I'm a good deal familiar with that symbol. And he opens up his laptop, and you can see that there's like a little password screen there, but then like the screensaver is that very same icon. You ever heard of the Daybreak Syndicate?
Well, funny enough, I have heard of the Daybreak Syndicate very recently, and I'd like to know more. So I'm hoping you'll talk some more and let me know more about the Daybreak Syndicate. See, this is already a working relationship. This is how it should be done. You're doing a great job, Elias, and I appreciate your help.
Elias takes another bite of his fries. Like I said, sir, there's a little bit of a power differential here still. I don't even know your name.
Oh, me? Oh, sorry. Yeah. And Purcell reaches into his coat that's still folded across his legs. He refolded and put across his legs. He pulls it up and reaches into the inside pocket of his coat, and he pulls out a badge. Opens it up. With it open like a book, he sets it on the desk, and just like the whiskey glass, he uses two fingers to gently push it forward so that Elias can see exactly what it says, and he can read Detective Purcell on the badge.
Detective Purcell. Well, nice to formally meet your acquaintance, Detective Purcell. Like I said, we're going to have a working relationship here. And I work only with you, not the rest of those government creeps. Unless you can get me some sort of...
And Purcell, with two fingers...
Fuck off! I don't pay taxes in this type of place. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't pay tax. Ah, okay, the Daybreak Syndicate. What do we have here? What do you need to know?
And Purcell, with his two fingers, pulls his badge back, flips it shut, puts it back inside of his coat pocket. Well, the Daybreak Syndicate, it seems like they were around the night the docks went up in flames. I need to know how that happened, what they were doing there, who was with them. I need to know everything about that night. Whatever you know, I need to know.
As you talk about the docks going up in flames and that sort of thing, you see a blank look go across Elias's face, and he's looking at his computer screen, but his eyes swivel to the left over in your direction, and the corners of his eyes kind of tighten a little bit. I'm sorry, Detective. I don't know nothing about that. Really don't.
And Purcell just kind of looks down at his fingernails that he's kind of just blindly, blankly flicking under with his thumbnail. And he raises his eyes, not his head, but just his eyes, and looks at Elias. You don't know anything about what happened down at the dock.
Oh, Detective, I know what was on the news. I know what was on the net. I haven't heard nothing about the Daybreak's involvement. They're just a bunch of crackpots as far as I'm concerned. I tell you what, I'm only involved with them because they got credits. I mean, if you make it worth my time, I could work for you, help you find them.
And when he says that, Purcell brings his compad up, and he opens the screen up, widens it, and then puts a finger down, and again raises his eyes, not his head, but just his eyes, looks at Elias, and while looking at him, slides his fingers, his index finger from the right, to the right. And as you look down on your pad, that number that I showed you, you see the decimal point move over by 1. And the number's bigger now.
Oh, tell you what, I don't normally trust motherfuckers that are deep into government bullshit. You're on the government payroll, but for some reason, I trust a man that dresses like you, like my buddy Val, into the old values. All that old bullshit. Maybe you're an honorable man, Detective. Are you an honorable man?
And Purcell smiles. You know what? I think you might be the first person around here who gets me, Elias.
And he leans closer to Purcell, puts 2 fingers on the desk. You can see that Purcell's teeth are yellow and his breath smells like bourbon and cigarettes. Well, you know what, Purcell? I'm not an honorable man. But I tell you what, I'm a predictable man. And with that decimal point, that little small move to the right, you can predict that I'm going to help you to the best of my ability. Because I know that we're going to have a great relationship together going forward, huh?
Purcell stands up off the stool. He unfolds his coat and kind of flings it around, and as he flings it around, kind of whips it around, puts an arm inside and pulls it up. Yes, Elias. I moved the decimal point over. Predictable.
You know what they
Everything that
say.
you know about the Daybreak Syndicate, everything you know about that symbol, every contact you have that might know anything about that explosion in the docks, that warehouse that went down. After. These are the things I need. And if I get what I need, you get more of what you want.
I see, that's a deal, Detective. Now, come here. Look at this. Kind of points to his laptop, sits down. You hear his fingers just flying over the key as he unlocks it, types in his password. The icon of the Daybreak Syndicate goes away, and you see a database of names. I wasn't lying to you when I said I don't know nothing about the doc. Shit like that goes down all the time. So I don't pay much attention to it. But I maybe can get you where you need to go. You see, I wasn't lying. I think they're a bunch of crackpots. Daybreak Syndicate. They seem to have this crazy idea in their mind. All they need to do is merge themselves with their machines. Become part of the cloud. The AI. Whatever that fucking shit means. Can't spend money if you're digital, like I said. They think they're going to transcend to the ethereal plane of the digital. Become one with the net. Bunch of malarkey, if you ask me. I give them credit, though. They're true believers. They act on their beliefs. They follow through on their intentions. And you know what? What little I have, well, they've given to me. He points to the database on his computer. Like I said, I'm not an honorable man. I find young ladies, young men down on the luck, and I bring them to the syndicate. I influence them, maybe take them out, get them a little drunk, smoke a little hash. I start talking to them about the Daybreak Syndicate, and they think it sounds like a good gig, so I bring them all over to the recruiters for the cult. Oh, did I say cult? I mean the recruiting officers, yeah. But, yeah, that's what I do. It's not honorable, but it's what I do. It keeps the electric on. But I don't pay fucking taxes.
Purcell raises an eyebrow and he looks at Elias. And who do you report to, Elias? Who do you turn these young men and women into? Who pays you for doing this?
Like I said, some of them are crackpots, but not all of them are dumb, Detective. Most of the deal is done digital-like, right? And I bring them to the hangout. It's a place called, let me see here. Starts typing on the computer again. And takes his cigarette out of the ashtray, takes a drag on it. Let's see here. It says, yeah, right here. A dive bar. Not far from here. The Wings of Icarus. Aptly named, if I should say. I take them there, bring them into a dark room, a shadowy figure meets them. It's like something out of a movie. So, yeah. I saw one of them one time. A well-dressed man, although not well-dressed as you, wearing rose-colored shades. He was always there at the Wings, as they call it. I got an idea. I know you dress up nice, Detective, but do you dress down?
Purcell raises an eyebrow at that and takes a sip off the bourbon. He gets the idea of where Elias is going with this, and he just kind of smiles. Well, let's see if I can dress down.
Just saying, if you're a detective, have you been undercover or not? It's a kind of a swanky club, but the people I bring in there to be recruited, they don't always look the nicest.
Well, we wouldn't want them to get suspicious for bringing in someone who doesn't look like your normal fare.
Right. Yeah, so, that hat, that dapper suit, those polished shoes. If we go through with this plan, you might have to get rid of those. Might have to put on a little more something, I don't know, leather with some studs, maybe a nose ring, some ear hoops, and some piercings where it might hurt a little more than it should, if you know what I mean.
Purcell finishes the bourbon and sets it down on the desk, and again, with his 2 fingers, slides the glass away from him. And he kind of closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. You know what, Elias? I like you. I do. I like you, even though you're a piece of shit. But you have ideas and you have plans. And these plans can help me do what I need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and run with this idea. Don't even think about piercing anything, because that's not going to happen. But I can dress down. I can hang the suit up. I can put the hat away, and I can put on a pair of shoes that aren't so shiny. And we can give this a shot. I'll keep an eye on you, though, Elias. I can promise you that. And as he says that, he's kind of gives a nod and grabs the front of his hat there. I can promise you, I'm going to keep an eye on you.
I don't doubt that, Columbo. I don't doubt that.
Give me the coordinates of where you need me to meet. I'll go change, and I'll meet you there.
Elias nods and take another drag off a cigarette. He puts it in the ashtray to the left of the laptop. Munches on another fry. All right. I'll send a message to my contact. What do you say, 1 hour?
1 hour. It takes more than that to look like this, but 1 hour should be more than enough to look less. I'll meet you.
And Elias looks down towards the ground and says, points at the submachine gun. So, you gonna be keeping that, or?
Purcell looks down at it, and he just smiles, and he kicks it back over towards Elias. You ever pull that on me again, well, you can officially count this contract as being over.
Yeah, I got it. Like I said, keep those decimal points moving. Right on up to the right. That thing's here just for self-defense. We get the odd junkie wandering in here off the streets from time to time. I wag it in their face and they disappear like a fart in the wind, if you know what I mean.
Purcell turns to walk out, and as he walks out, he kind of straightens his coat up. I'm offended, Elias. I'm offended. You just compared me to your typical junkie that walks in here.
You're not no typical junkie, sir.
And Purcell walks out the front door. As he stops in the doorway, the arch, he looks around left, up, and to the right and down, just like he did when he walked in. It's a real shithole you have here, Elias. Stick with me. You can do better.
That's the idea, Purcell. That's the idea.
And Purcell walks back out, kind of lifts the collar up on his coat, pulls his hat down over the front of his brow as the rain starts kind of drizzling down on him, and starts making his way back to his car so that he can head back to his hotel so that he can dress down for Elias' plan.
With that, as Detective Purcell leaves Elias's shop, Elias is left there wondering at this interesting but brief exchange he's had with this detective. Outside, Detective Purcell starts making his way back to the better parts of Little Wing and towards his car. As he does, Detective Purcell, you notice that the eyes that were on you, they seem to be now stepping out of the dark. And soon your way is blocked by 3 individuals. Their faces are unkempt, hair unkempt. The clothes they wear are definitely tattered. Each of them holds a knife in their hand. They have that look of desperation. You there, you seem to be well off, says one. The other, a fancy man in a shithole. That's not very often we see that. The other kind of steps a little closer. Well, fancy man, would you care to spare some change to the needy?
Purcell, he looks over at him and he reaches up and grabs his hat from the front, kind of gently pulls it off of his head, and he sets it down on a post nearby. He sets it on the post and he looks over at the guy, looks him up and down. You know, I was wondering what I was going to wear to dress down tonight, but this is going to be perfect. This is exactly what I need to dress down. Your outfit. Go ahead and get undressed, son. I need what you're wearing, and I need it now. I've got an hour.
They look at each other confused. Fancy man seems to have lost his mind as well as his bearings. We want your clothes, fancy man. We want your money. We could do this the easy way or the hard way, fancy man. I would not like to rip any holes in that nice shirt you're wearing.
And Purcell smiles and he just kind of laughs to himself. The funny thing is, bullet holes or blood in what you're wearing will only make the image even more appropriate for what I'm doing tonight. So I don't care. And Purcell reaches into his front pocket and grabs his gun.
All right. Roll me initiative. Awesome. Go ahead. Who do you shoot at first, and what do you do?
Purcell just immediately pulls it out. As he's pulling it out, he grabs it with his other hand to steady it. He has, full control over his weapon, being a trained detective, and he grabs it and just kind of holds it close to his chest almost, close to his body as he just fires off a shot at the thug that was talking to him.
Nice. Go ahead. Roll weapons. So as you fire that shot, pulling your weapon out, taking aim and shooting, in the darkness, the weapon shoots, but the bullet misses him. However, go ahead and roll me a fray die. In your case, it's a 1d8. Nice. So in this case, what happens is a fray die is basically given your specific arc. You are a blur of motion. You whip up your weapon, you shoot it, you kind of use it to push the others back. Just the fact of getting into combat with you is an extremely dangerous proposition for most normal Icarus dwellers. So your fray die is used to cause like additional kind of group damage. So this guy gets to.
So yeah, so as he pulls his gun out, pulls it up close to his body, fires off a shot. He fires off a shot, and immediately, as his gun is close to his body, kind of elbows the other one next to him, and pushes the third one away.
Nice. They get pushed back, and this thug on your left, he kind of shakes himself, and then comes charging at you with his knife, and he makes an attack. (18) to hit, which hits, but in your case, instead of taking 7 damage, you actually just take 2 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a different damage scale than most other people.
And so he comes in, and as he tries to come in and he swings his knife towards me, Purcell raises up an arm, and he just kind of glances off my forearm with his knife.
Nice. This other thug comes at you from the other side and tries to attack you with his knife as well, which he misses completely because you are already fighting with the first thug and your bodies are a blur of motion, and he tries to swing and swipe at your back, but just in time your body moves trying to engage the other guy. The third thug comes running at you with his knife as well. You're gonna die, fancy man. But he is so concentrated on his jibes at you that he completely misses and kind of runs past you a bit. It's your turn.
And using the momentum of deflecting that one knife coming across my forearm, the other one comes at my back and misses, and as I kind of pivot around, the third one runs past me. I kind of move into that momentum and fire at the third one that ran past me.
Okay, go ahead.
And I kind of swing around, holding my weapon, and kind of in an arc, swing around, just take a shot at him as he runs past me.
Nice. So the guy who runs past you, correct? So with that 7 damage, these people are street thugs. They are no match to the force that is Detective Purcell. Damage on them, as in PCs, also work differently than if you're attacking PCs. The 7 leads to 2 points of damage. It counts against their hit dice. How does this look as you kill this guy with that one shot?
Yeah, as he, was running past me and I swung around, his back was facing me. Purcell, not caring about that kind of thing, just shoots him square in the back. And as he gets shot square in the back, you can see his shoulders arch back just a little bit before he just stiffens and falls straight forward into the pavement.
Nice. This thug looks at what you just did to his mate. Oh, you're gonna pay for that, fancy man. You're gonna pay for that dearly. And he starts coming at you with his knife again. But the shock of seeing his gang member being cut down like that with a single bullet, at the end his blade falters a bit and it doesn't find any purchase. The thug on the right sees that there's an opening and he wants to attack with his knife, and he makes the attack as well. He definitely hits as you're engaged with the one on the left. You take 2 points of damage, considering the damage table.
Yep, and after he had taken that shot and used the momentum to swing around and dodge the one coming from the left, the one from the right saw an opening and was able to kind of glance to his shoulder as he came up behind him again.
Nice.
And as he gets hit, Purcell just fires off at the one who's right in front of him.
For a 12, that is beyond what this NPC can take. So this is akin to a headshot as you blast this person across. How does that look?
Yeah, so as he used, like I said, he used the momentum from that last one that he killed to spin around and face this guy. He gets hit from behind, but with the control he has over his weapon so close to his body, he sees the one in front of him who had just missed his attack, and he's just in the perfect spot that Purcell fires off one shot, thunk, right into his head as he just crumples to the floor.
Oh, so that I rolled that wrong. So this should be 9. So this final thug, he sees you having shot and killed instantly 2 of his gang members. He rolls for morale. I applied the the modifier incorrectly. He, seeing that the 2 of them are dead, he starts backing away and starts running away from the scene. What do you do?
And Purcell sees him running away, and as he's running, Purcell just kind of grins a little bit and lets him go as he immediately starts to kneel down and pulling the clothes off of one of these thugs.
All right. With that, the battle comes to an end. People around you are a little shocked by what they've seen. It has been less than 15 seconds since the engagement started. It started with words, some brief flashes of knives.
And as people are kind of like in shock and kind of some of them start getting close, as Purcell's pulling the pants off, the boots off of one of these people, one of these thugs, pulling the pants off of them, he reaches into his own coat pocket, pulls out his badge, flips it open, and kind of just kneeling down on the ground, pulling boots off, holds his badge flipped open up in the air and just kind of pivots it around so that everyone around him can see his badge as he continues to do what he's doing, look down and yank the clothes and boots and everything off of this thug.
They immediately start backing up, saying, hey, all right, man, I mean, do what you gotta do, and they start slowly leaving the vicinity. Nobody gives you a second look. Everybody's got their eyes down, not wanting to engage in any further combat. It takes you not much time. You find one of them is closely in size to you. You pick the man clean, his jacket, his undershirts, his pants, his shoes. You even see that he's got some chains, everything that would make you look like this person, look like you're from the street. You're able to get off the body. You pick up all the clothes and you make your way away from this scene back to Little Wing. You get to your car and you enter the car.
And as soon as I get in the car, I immediately contact the station, give them the coordinates of where I was just at, let them know. There's 2 bodies in the street there. There's 2 bodies in the street. They confronted me. It didn't end well for them. We're going to need a wagon over here to pick them up. Can't just leave them there. Get it done as soon as possible.
You on the dispatch, you hear back, "Who is this?"
It's Purcell. You should have recognized my identification number as soon as I linked in into comms.
Oh, well, Mr. Purcell, you are in Little Wing, and the location you've given is the shitty part of Little Wing. We are not sending any of our equipment there. They will sort themselves out. Request denied. And then the line goes kind of dead.
Purcell just looked at his screen. Fucking cowards. No wonder this place is a shithole. Police here can't do anything. And he just shakes his head and he immediately just reaches into, basically what's a glove box. Pulls out a dressing in there and tears the package open with his teeth and just starts putting it around his forearm. His coat is folded in the passenger seat, sleeve pulled up. He's got some blood all over it, and he just starts putting bandages around the wounds that they inflicted on him. And after Purcell finishes bandaging himself, he punches in the coordinates for the hotel. Heads back there so that he can clean up and change. And then meet at the designated location.
All right. So you do that. You make your way back to the hotel. You change into the street clothes. You put all your actual good street clothes hanging up to dry. You ensure that all your wounds and cuts are sterilized, cleaned, bandaged well. And an hour passes, and you make your way to the location where Elias said he would meet you. Elias, you see a retro-looking muscle car kind of come around the bend in the street. The car makes a U-turn on the street and parks across from the club you were waiting outside of. The engine is idling. The window slowly starts to be pulled down, and you see a familiar face wearing unfamiliar clothes looking out of the window.
So Purcell gets out of the vehicle, and wearing these clothes, he just feels dirty and uncomfortable. But he kind of arches and cranes his neck just a little bit, kind of cracking his neck, and starts walking across the street, his feet hitting the puddles as he walks across, the light shining in the water on the street. And he walks towards Elias, who's standing on the street corner.
Elias is standing in the street corner, smoking a cigarette, his greasy locks hanging over his greasy face as the rain comes down from overhead, casting neon pink against the signs of the wings of Icarus. He takes the last drag off a cigarette and throws it down, just as he sees the muscle car cruise down the street and take a left turn and park. What the fuck, man? He kind of sees the detective walk up, and he approaches him. He doesn't say it loudly because the detective might not come off as the best type of person in this area. Oh, Purcell, my friend. I dare say. When you commit to the part, you fucking commit to the part. There with fake blood and everything? What's up with the bandages? Ha 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 ha.
Purcell just looks at Elias, and he looks down at what he's wearing, realizes that there is a bullet hole in it and some blood stained still, and looks back up at Elias with that pink glow around his face, reflecting off of the, wet streets, off of the buildings. Yeah, well, I told you I could dress down if I needed to. I got lucky tonight. Someone offered me their outfit. I took it.
And Elias just looks at the detective, that tight look across his eyes again, narrows his eyes, and puts his right hand on his chin and points to Purcell, points to the street. Now, what the fuck? You left those gunshots? That. Jesus Christ! You said you was honorable. You my type of bastard, Purcell. You my type of bastard.
And Purcell looks at Elias, is like, keep it down, Elias. They attacked me.
Hey, I can talk as loud as I want. I got a genuine registered badass with me here tonight. Look, hey buddy. He kind of still says it softly. Detective Purcell coming with me. Anybody want some of this?
And Purcell grabs Elias by the shoulder, pulls him towards it. Listen, you're supposed to be the professional here. You're dragging me into these people. Act like it. Act like you're the badass. You're the one that recruited me. You're the one bringing me to them. I'm the weak one. I'm following you. Stop acting like this. You're gonna draw attention we don't need.
Okay. Point taken, Purcell. Point taken. Who am I to neglect instructions given by somebody who just survived a gunfight, yeah? Come on inside. I'm gonna show you to Roseman in here.
And Purcell follows him, and as he's following Elias, he's kind of laughing to himself. Gunfight. Unfortunately, they brought a knife to a gunfight.
He was a funny motherfucker, Purcell. He was a funny motherfucker. Whenever I get in touch with Valentine, I got to introduce you to. You guys will hit it right off. And he kind of walks into the club.
As you guys are walking into the club, just as you kind of come around the corner, a extremely fine car pulls up. The car comes to a halt right outside the club doors. Outside from the driver's side of the car, a person steps out wearing shades, smoking a cigarette. Clearly has a combat rifle kind of slung across his back. Extremely odd to see someone carrying a combat rifle like that in civilian population like this. But he clearly carries it like he doesn't give a fuck who thinks what about it. He crosses around to the other side of the car, opens the back right passenger door. From outside of that steps a well-dressed man wearing rose-colored shades. The man looks around, doesn't seem to make notice of much, and eventually just enters the club without being stopped, without being asked any questions. The car stays at that location The man with the combat rifle gets back into the driver's seat and just sits there looking straight ahead. You both see this happen.
Purcell looks at Elias and just kind of nods at him, raises an eyebrow and nods. I'm following you.
Elias nods and says, Roger that. Okay. All business here. A lot of credits on the line. A lot of decimal points. And he leads Elias into the club. Or leads Detective Purcell into the club. And Elias hears the thumping of the music and sees people with their drinks and their dancing. And just looks straight ahead. Takes a few turns. Heads behind the bar into a back corridor where he typically takes the new recruits for this particular organization. And eventually he comes to the door. Knocks on the door. Hey, it's Ellie.
The door opens. A few young women, skimpily clad, open the door. Inside of their room is the well-dressed man with an attaché case by his side. He has rose-tinted glasses that he's wearing. He looks up at you, Elias. Ah, our recruiter, Mr. Green. I see you are trying to exceed your quota this month.
Oh, well, you know me, sir. I'm more the industrious type, not one to sit in my duff and not do nothing, you know? I got this guy here, he's a little down on his luck, but he's got a good head on his shoulders. Real tough guy, this one. But I tell you what, he's looking for something more out of life, mister. He's looking for what you can offer him. He's looking for transcendent being. He's looking for more than this life on the streets. Ah, yeah. Maybe he's had a needle in his arm. He's had a vape in his nostrils. He's been to the heavens and back, but all he's found was hell. This man, and he points to the detective. His name is Henry Case. And he won't let you down. He wants to join your organization. And I tell you what, if I could ever trust a man, I could trust Henry Case. I think that the syndicate will be much richer with him in it than without him in it. You take this man, you show him what you can offer. Henry introduces him, does kind of a half bow.
And Henry steps forward and looks at the man in the suit. And Henry has his hands clasped together in front of him. He's kind of wringing them just a little bit, has his head down. He's like, well, that was mighty kind words of you, Mr. Green. Yes, sir, and he looks over to the man in the suit. Sir, Mr. Green here has told me everything about what you're doing here, and transcendence seems like exactly what I need. Seems like exactly what I want. I have come on hard times, and he kind of gives a glance over to Mr. Green. In acknowledgement of him saying that earlier. It's been difficult, but after Mr. Green told me about the transcendence and moving forward and evolving as a species, I knew that's exactly what I needed to do. I knew that's exactly what my destiny was. I'm just hoping, and he kind of just wrings his hands again a little bit and sheepishly looks up at the man in the suit. I'm just hoping that I'm the type of person you could accept.
Shades looks at you, both of you. Case, is it? Well, Mr. Case, we are all destined for greatness. We're all destined for that ascendancy. Our mortal existence, our existence in this flesh, this cage, this cocoon of rotting meat, it will come to an end, and we shall all ascend into that eye in the sky. You seem like a worthy candidate for our little group. You shall see wonders beyond your wildest imagination, Mr. Case.
And
The
Henry's
streets
eyes widen when he says that.
will have no longer any purchase over you. You shall want for nothing when you join us. We shall feed you, clothe you, give you a purpose, and when the time comes, you shall be judged. You shall ascend. You shall be one with that which watches us from the net.
And Henry Case is wide-eyed, and he's looking at him, and says, "Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a better place to belong. I'm looking to be a better being of myself. This is exactly what Mr. Green said would be provided here, and I'm just beside myself. I'm so excited for this. This is exactly what I need."
Well, I wasn't expecting Mr. Green tonight. I was expecting just a quiet evening by myself, but it's always good to have new recruits join us. It's always good to have new believers, and to me it seems, Mr. Case, you are a believer. Mr. Green has always excellent work, and he kind of raises his compad and transfers 500 credits to your account. Keep up the good work, Mr. Green. We shall be at capacity soon, and we shall achieve greatness, and you shall be remembered among us, and maybe one day you shall change your heretic views on that which lives in the net, that which watches us.
Oh, I tell you what, Mr. Shades, every day I get closer, I see the great things that happen with the people I bring here. And I think you're going to see me one day, sir. You're going to see me here, and I'm going to crawl up into them nets with you.
Shades kind of shakes his head. No, Mr. Green, we don't crawl. Crawl is for... And he kind of looks around. You can see through the glass that's behind you and the rest of the club. They shall crawl, Mr. Green. Those masses, uneducated. They do not see the greatness that lies above us. They do not see the capacity that the net provides. They shall crawl. No, Mr. Green. When we ascend, we climb. We shall walk through the gates of that which watches us. And we shall be welcomed, Mr. Green. We shall be welcomed. And we shall sit by its side. And we shall purvey all of net that belongs to us. Very well. And he kind of picks up his drink, puts it, slams it, puts the glass down. Well, Mr. Case, if you'd be kind enough to follow me, I shall take you to one of our processing centers, help you clean up, shed these clothes, this skin that you wear off the street, help you be reborn.
And Henry looks nervously over at Elias, and he looks back at the man in the suit and just nods his head. Yes, I can't tell you how much I hate these clothes. I can't wait to get out of them. I can't wait to see what is in store for me here. I can't wait to be a better version of myself. And he kind of steps forward past Elias and looks at him one more time as he continues following towards Shades.
And Elias, as he walks by, kind of grabs him by the shoulder and squeezes his left shoulder and say, "Hey, take care of yourself, detective. For the right price, you know where to find me."
And Purcell just kind of winces, even though it was quiet and it was to him. The fact that he said detective just makes Purcell angry. And he kind of gives a half-hearted grin to Elias. "Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you for all the encouragement. I'll definitely, hopefully, be seeing you again."
And with that, Shades takes you, Detective Purcell, Henry Case, out of the club. You reach out. He opens the door, the back seat of the car. "Well, Mr. Case, if you'd be so kind to join us."
And Purcell looks over at Elias as Elias is walking down the sidewalk, kind of heading away from the club just a little bit. And he kind of sees the soft rain coming down, the glow of the neon lights. Looks over at him, gives a quick nod, and turns around towards Shades. Looks into the vehicle, kind of looks around real quick, and immediately, just without hesitation, any further hesitation, steps inside the vehicle and takes a seat on the far side.
Shades nods to his driver, and the driver starts the car. As the car is pulling around the corner and away from the club, Detective Purcell, you notice that Elias is making his way to your car.
So you see, as you pull away, you see Elias take a pack of cigarettes out from his breast pocket. You see a faint flicker of flame in the darkness, not even drowned out by the neon, and you see him stride across the slick street, and he heads towards your car. The camera pans down as he kind of looks into the window. Well. It ain't no black coffee, but it'll do for now. And he has this little kind of Jimmy bar in his pocket. He takes it out and starts to take the car.
Purcell, as he's driving away, he looks out the window, and in the distance he sees all this kind of going on with Elias, and he turns back and just faces forward in his seat and smiles. He knows he's going to get his car back. That's not an issue. And under his breath, not even really under his breath, but kind of thinking to himself, well, I hope he has fun while he has it.
The car starts driving away from this section of Icarus 1. It winds through the many streets. There's silence in the car. Shades does not say anything to you. The driver is quiet. Eventually, it gets to what looks like the industrial district of Icarus 1. Deeper and deeper the car goes. The industrial districts, the good warehouses, the good plants, the good manufactories are all seeming to fade away. Eventually, it starts becoming rust, old, dilapidated buildings, warehouses. The car stops outside one. The doors open. Shades beckons you in. You enter through a series of corridors into a room. There seems to be many men with extremely powerful weapons. Shades ushers you in. And he turns to you. Mr. Case, welcome to the Daylight Syndicate. To the Daybreak Syndicate. And with that, bring the session to an end.
Woohoo!
Whew!
Nice job, Detective Purcell.
Nice